Okay, it's 5 o'clock. We do have a chaplain.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today as we gather for this county commission meeting. We ask you for your wisdom, discernment, and guidance in all the matters before us. May your Spirit lead everyone in this room to make decisions that are righteous, just, and beneficial to our community. Grant us the grace to serve with integrity and humility, always seeking to prioritize the needs of our citizens. We thank you for the opportunity to serve and for the challenges that lay before us. We trust in your guidance and pray that our decisions will reflect your love and your will. In your mighty name we pray. Amen. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
I
to
pledge
the flag of the United
States of America, to the republic in which stand one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'll call the May 19th, 2025 meeting of the Burleigh County Park Board to order. First item is roll call of members.
Commissioner Herman.
Here.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Here.
Commissioner Munson.
Here.
Commissioner Bakken.
Here.
Commissioner Schwab.
Here.
Commissioner Boehm.
Here.
Chairman Bittner.
Here. Next is the approval of the agenda, commissioners.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Herman.
Yes.
Commissioner Boehm.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Next, Commissioner Munson, you got a full plate. You
Got a full
Burleigh
plate.
County, boat ramp dredging, Kimball Bottoms, feasibility studies, Steckle boat ramp improvements, and Knifel boat ramp.
Is there going to be an approval of the agenda or
We did, didn't we?
or the minutes?
We did the minutes.
I need the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion is second to approve meeting minutes.
Agenda.
Usually it's in the same,
The agenda.
the agenda and the minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Herman.
Yes.
Commissioner Boehm.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
No.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes,
Too smooth.
motion
Got to
carries.
throw something in right away.
Okay.
All right, now we'll move
I
over
guess.
to Dave Mayer. Thank you, Dave.
Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. First on the agenda is the dredging quotes that we had discussed earlier this spring. We opened quotes and received one contractor's quotes for Kimball Bottoms in the amount of $6,000 and Knifel Boat Ramp in the amount of $9,750 for dredging those two different areas. If you remember, we did both of those ramps, I want to say last year.
Yep.
A little bit less in a dollar amount for Kimball, a little bit more in the dollar amount for Knifel compared to last year.
Dave, if I can ask, are we taking out more, though, from Knifel this time?
We are.
Okay.
We are clearing, square footage wise, I'd probably say double the square footage.
Okay.
I expanded the area quite a bit. Quantity wise, not quite double. As far as what the volume, what we are estimating for the volume to be.
I would move to approve the low bid for each ramp.
Second.
Motion and a second and an echo for approving the dredging. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Boehm.
Yes.
Commissioner Herman.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries.
There's a second item on here I would love to move. I would move to approve to allow Misty Waters to utilize the same contractor that we're using for this project for their own project as well.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the use of the contractor, although it's not up to us. It was a request of,
It was a request of Misty to,
okay.
yep.
Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Boehm.
Yes.
Commissioner Herman?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Commissioner Munson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
No.
Chair Bittner?
Yes, motion carries.
Next item is the Kimball Bottoms feasibility study. If you remember, last year and possibly possibly the year before, the Army Corps of Engineers had reached out requesting some movement on addressing the erosion that's happening at Kimball at the old parking lot and ramp area. We had reached out to Houston Engineering, and this is a feasibility study from them as to what or an estimate on a feasibility study from Houston on what they believe it would cost to prepare that feasibility study, come up with a solution, and hopefully get us a dollar amount on what it would take to remedy the issues down there.
Fellow commissioners, now this is an item that I do not have in my 2025 budget. I'm not quite sure where the costs would come from for this. I am asking for approval, mostly because this is the second, if not third, request from the Corps for us to get this addressed, and we have not. And so if this is an item you would like me to move to 26 budget, I certainly can. If there's some money that we can find now to address it now, I would prefer to move it forward.
What, the feasibility study will do what?
So it'll help us determine how much of the old ramp that we need to remove so that we don't have to keep dredging out the ramp, the new ramp as it sits.
So incurred cost year after year.
So we would remove the cost annually by doing this.
Commissioner Bakken?
So two questions. One, do we have an estimate on the feasibility study cost? And do we have an estimate on a range of what the scope of the findings of that study? I know that's a little early, but
Right.
I'm guessing that there's probably a ballpark figure that we would be aware of.
The feasibility study is $34,800 to get us to that point to figure out how to put this out for bid as to what and how much we have to remove and how we need to fix it. Dave, did I say that wrong?
No,
Okay.
Chairman Bittner and Commissioners, a couple of things that when I spoke with Michael Gunch, and he was not able to be here to kind of elaborate. So when I talked with him, if you remember, the Corps was looking at a few things. To the north of the old parking lot, it's eroding. We're losing part of the parking lot into the river. They want to stop that erosion. So it'd be bank stabilization in that neck of the woods. Stop the parking lot from falling in the river, clean up as much as we can, and stabilize that area. In conversations with Mr. Gunch, we're thinking there's a sweet spot in there to remove some of the old boat ramp to stop the eddy from occurring to the south of the old ramp that is depositing the sand on the current ramp and silt. And if we get to a point where we're dredging every second year, every third year versus every year, that's the goal. Hopefully it's longer. If they can look into their crystal ball a little bit better as the engineers and they can figure that out, that would be great. But those are the couple of things that the Corps was looking at: the stabilization and cleanup of the old parking ramp, and twofold would be the second item would be taking care of the old ramp.
Typical annual cost savings?
Right now, we're looking at least $6,000. If we have more silt on the ramp, it could be more. I can tell you that historically, it's $5,000 just to get the equipment down there.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock?
any possibility of Corps money or North Dakota Game and Fish money, or is this all our responsibility?
Chairman Bittner and Commissioners, Commissioner Woodcox, that's a very good question. I don't know that the Corps really has any money to share, but we could always ask. And there might be a possibility for some game and fish money, but again, it'd have to really fit in their wheelhouse for their grant program that they have.
We need to get to the feasibility study first.
This is actually on Corps of Engineers land.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Okay. Commissioner Schwab?
Have you explored getting some money from the Garrison Diversion? They got lots of it.
Chairman Bittner, Commissioners, Commissioner Schwab, that is another feasible opportunity to apply for that grant. Yes.
Because they're gonna get $750,000 from us again this year.
That is definitely something that we could apply for. We could look at the requirements for that. From my recollection, we have never, from the Park District, applied for a grant to Garrison Diversion Conservancy District for that specific type, but it might fall within there.
Hello, Commissioners. I would move to approve the feasibility study with Houston Engineering for the cost of $34,800. If you will allow me to work with Lee to figure out where we can pull that money out of our budget on the parks, or on the park side.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? You're looking for funding that's only through the park?
Park portfolios, yes.
No?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope, nowhere else.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Herman?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox?
Yes.
Commissioner Munson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Commissioner Boehm?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
Yes. Motion carries. Next.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Steckel boat ramp improvements. As part of Commissioner Munson's request for the budget was to include some accessibility funds to improve some of the properties that are owned or managed by Burleigh County, and we brought back the accessibility items that were identified in the access audit for Steckel boat ramp. What that is creating two accessible parking stalls and a accessible walkway in that upper area to the shelter, and adding a new vault toilet that is accessible and meets code. That would mean removing the old vault toilet that is not accessible. That project fits within the budgeted amount that Commissioner Munson has increased the budget amount to, and we should be able to get it built this year.
Commissioners, this is just for information only. As Dave said, we did have money in our 2025 budget for ADA upgrades. I had authorized Dave to at least start getting the bids so that we were in the process, but for your information, the map is attached as to what we're looking at doing as far as where the parking spaces, the sidewalk, and the vault would be. So I'm hoping by next park meeting, we'll have all our numbers for us to make a decision there, whether we move forward or not.
So we've already looked for bids on this?
Yes. Yep. I've
Chairman-
asked him to start looking for bids.
Yep, Chairman Bittner and Commissioners, the vault toilet is out for quotes right now. The concrete work we are soliciting. We're reaching out. I have not worked with, because it's outside of Burleigh County, I have not worked with anybody up in the Washburn area. I'm pretty sure there are some concrete contractors up there, so we're looking into that to get some, because they're a lot closer than contractors in Bismarck, so we should be able to get some good prices from up in that area, I'm hoping.
Okay.
But again, I wanted you guys to see the map to let you know what we're looking at. But again, bids will be brought back to this board for approval when they've all been put together. All right, last item.
The last item is another feasibility study with conversations that the keelboat boat ramp is closing at some point this summer, we estimate. The fishing community has reached out to multiple entities, and we're wondering about the idea to expand boat ramp access at Knifel. Could we add another ramp? Commissioner Munson had asked me to check with Houston Engineering if they could come up with what it might be for a fee to entertain that. And what we're looking at is creating a boat ramp, adding the boat ramp to the south of Knifel, the current Knifel boat ramp, eliminating the campground area, possibly expanding the fish cleaning station, if we can, because I know there's a drain field there for that one, if we can add enough room to add another fish cleaning station there. And then creating an accessible launch type area. There's variable ways to get somebody with disabilities onto a boat. Couple of areas have looked at trying to get them right down to the existing boat ramp, which I think is a troublesome issue because that, especially on the river, our docks move up and down. So how do you pick that spot to get somebody that may be wheelchair bound onto that dock when the dock is moving up and down the ramp? Another solution is there's a group out there that creates a platform that you take somebody up the platform and put them in the boat before they actually put the boat in the water. And that is what I'm hoping that we could incorporate into this, and that could get somebody that is fully wheelchair bound onto a pontoon, or somebody that is able to transfer into, say, a fishing boat into a chair in a fishing boat. So there's the platform that I've seen, and actually I'll give a plug. The organization is called Wheelchairs and Walleyes, and they have a phenomenal platform that's being used in a couple of locations in the state that is just really inspiring. So I think if we can incorporate something like that into this boat ramp, it'd be a great add for the community.
My goal is, and attached in your packet is another feasibility study for Houston Engineering. I'm going to, again, information for you. I will put that in my 26 budget. I don't think that's something that we can run now at this point for that kind of dollars, but I wanted to get this group to start thinking about the possibilities of adding a ramp, an ADA accessible facility, and then what it would mean if we closed that campground up there at Knifel. Sheriff might want to weigh in on that one, because I know we've had a lot of calls up there as well. It's a park we don't charge for. People move in, people move out. Some people stay there all summer.
Rotationally.
So again, more of a conversation piece that I would like input from everybody here on thoughts.
Commissioner Bachman?
So have you looked into the difference between the dock-mounted system versus the stands? So, because I know some of the boat ramps, especially with keel boat probably going away, waiting line to get in is a little bit long. So how that's positioned in the queue for people getting boat access. And the other question I've got then is versus so somebody's already got their boat in the water in a slip and wants to come up to a dock. So I'd like a little bit more information on the best route to go with that as far as accessibility.
Good point on the slip.
Yeah. So, because then if you're in a slip, you're not pulling your boat out to get somebody into your boat. So just logistics, more or less.
I've been trying to figure that out myself, because my brother's actually the one that brought this to my attention, and then I contacted Commissioner Munson about it to see if we could work that into some kind of boat ramps around here, because my brother has real difficulties getting in and out of the boat, because he's Marine Corps disabled, and I thought it would be real helpful around here. With regards to whether you're lifting them in and out at the dock itself, I think that would back things up a lot.
Right. So
my experience at the docks.
If it is that route, could it be on an extra dock or something off to the side versus the dock
like
for
the convenience
for the launch? Yeah.
There's a
Or maybe
convenience
we
dock.
could figure out some amenable solution with one of the slips.
This group,
yeah.
this group may have
With
some
one of
thoughts on that too.
one of the marinas. So
Well, one of the concerns we run into when we go back into the ADA compliance, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but a boat ramp is at a 12% grade roughly.
Yep.
And
12 to
ADA
14.
requirements are 6?
5.
So to get that wheelchair down the ramp, to get to the dock, to be lifted in down below would be a little, it would not follow ADA compliance whatsoever.
right, but we're also missing a large group of people. If somebody already has a boat in the water and wants to take somebody out,
Right.
they're not able to unless they pull their boat out?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Great point. That's one I've not thought of. And so that's, again, why this conversation is here, is to get input.
In case you're not asking for a decision on the
Nope.
feasibility study at this point. It's
Correct.
informational. And
Information only. Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock.
that map we got in our packet, was that all the land we own to the south? Is that our southern border?
Correct.
Or is that's not core land, that's our land,
That's
right?
ours. Yep.
And who owns the property to the south? Can we, I hate to eliminate that campground, that's what I'm thinking. I know the sheriff might be opposed to that, but anyway.
Sheriff Liebman, you got any input on that?
I didn't mean to put you
No.
on the spot this
Well,
time.
this is awfully orderly to be discussing closing that campground, but I think
Right.
it's a discussion we should have, that's for sure.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, obviously I wasn't prepared for this.
Nope.
Just off the top of my head, most of our campgrounds like that, like Commissioner Munson said, people do tend to set up in them and not move. We don't get a ton of reports up at Steckel, but, you know, it is remote. And I guess just speaking right now, I'd hate to see us lose it overall, you know, but if you looked at a day use, I mean, that's some, whatever you decide we'll work with, but we don't get a ton of complaints up there to where, you know, I would consider it a problem area, like, say, Kimball Bottoms or something like that.
Yeah, there's some kind of restriction up in that area, because I know I was talking with the Corps of Engineers at one point about trying to utilize more of that, we'll call it the Willow area.
Yep.
And that was before we had the road blocked off, because there we had a parking lot and whatnot too, and we were losing all that into the river. And so there's some kind of restrictions up in there, and I'm not sure, I don't recall exactly what it was, because that was probably 12, 13 years ago or something. Okay, thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I mean, I appreciate that. That, really what I wanted out of this last item was communication back and forth and opinions on the campground versus maybe it could be there but smaller, or how would we work parking lots in with a new ramp? We'll have to have area for the ADA if we do that. We'll have to have area if we expand the fish cleaning station. There'll be some more amenities up there, and so we have the lot that is outlined in your packet.
I just want to point out that I did have some contacts from folks that are concerned about the sandbars in that area causing an inability to get in and out of the place. Did you have some? Commissioner Woodcock?
The city's gonna close that ramp, but we discussed earlier, Kimball Bottoms, the keelboat.
Keelboat.
Are they planning on replacing that keelboat ramp with a ramp in any other position? Any other? Am I putting you on the spot, or?
Chairman Bittner and Commissioners, Commissioner Woodcox, at this time, I don't believe the city of Bismarck is planning on doing anything like that, no.
Okay, have they had any resistance to closing that ramp?
There have been a few calls.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your definition of a few?
To the
Sorry,
Park
thank
District,
you.
there have been quite a few calls. I'm not sure how
Great.
much the city has got.
I hope there is.
I've attended a couple meetings with you where there was some pretty heated conversations over taking away their boat ramp. And I get it, you know, I'm a boater as well. I understand that. The hard part for the Park District is they didn't own the land where Keelboat Park is. The city owns it and has the ability to do whatever they wish. Some of us might not agree with what their plan is, but they made that decision. And so now, how do we help our residents get into the water? And so that's where this proposal is coming from. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any business for the Park Board? Seeing none, I will adjourn the Park Board. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'll call the May 19th, 2025 meeting of the Burleigh County Commission to order. First item on the agenda is roll call of members.
Commissioner Munson. Here. Commissioner Bakken.
Here.
Commissioner Schwab.
Here.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Here.
Chairman Bittner.
Here. Approval of the agenda. Anybody have any changes or additions? I'm going to add something under other business for a brief discussion about public comment policy.
Move to approve with your addition.
Second.
Motion and second to approve with that addition. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken.
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Consideration of May 5th, 2025 meeting minutes and bills. Who had an opportunity to review the bills this month?
I did the bills.
Commissioner Schwab?
And there's some follow-up stuff on. The bills are good, but I'm wondering about some of them, whether they're necessary. I'll move to approve the bills and minutes, though, because I checked the minutes.
Second.
A motion second to approve the bills and the minutes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Did you want to have any discussion about that now, or is that
Not right
something you're
now. I'm
following
getting
up?
information on it.
Okay, sounds good. Consent agenda, there's abatements, special use permits, and liquor license renewals. Anybody want to pull anything out of the consent agenda for discussion? I noticed there is a liquor license renewal for the place up on 83.
Yeah, on Sterling. I didn't see anything wrong with that.
Oh, the one up at, up north.
Yeah, any concerns?
Hawk Tree.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
no concerns?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Crossroads. There we go.
Yeah.
I have a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve, any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. It's the time and the place for a public hearing on consideration of Sanford bond. I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody that wishes to, first off, is the applicant here?
They're on via
Ronnie
Zoom.
Martin.
Okay, you're online? Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. Hi. My name is Ronnie Martin. I am bond counsel for Sanford Health. So I'm here representing them in request for the public hearing being held today.
Okay. You want to provide any additional information?
Sure. So we're here today asking the commissioners to hold this public hearing on behalf of Sanford Health, as Sanford is looking to issue tax-exempt bonds through the South Dakota Health and Educational Facilities Authority. Under the tax code, in order for tax-exempt bond proceeds to be spent outside of the South Dakota jurisdiction, we need to hold a public hearing in all jurisdictions and where proceeds are expected to be spent. Currently, Sanford is anticipating financing some new projects within the county, in addition to refinancing some existing debt that was spent in the county. So we're here today asking for a public hearing to allow residents to provide any comments regarding this plan of finance. The county is not at all liable for any sort of payments on the bonds. This is merely a requirement under the tax code in order to provide the flexibility to Sanford in order to use proceeds within the jurisdiction.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item?
Can anyone explain what the bond's for?
I'm hoping bond counsel can answer that.
Right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Could someone repeat the question?
What is the bond for?
Charles, can you come up so she can hear you?
Identify yourself for the record.
Charles Tuttle, live on Rosser. I just want to know, we're having a public hearing on something I don't think anyone in the room knows what it's for. Is it for a shelter building, or is it for some facility? What is exactly that you're asking us to have public comment on? Thank you.
Sure. So there was a public notice published in the newspaper, and it provided a full description of the anticipated use of the bond proceeds. But a high-level summary is they are planning. Sanford Health is a health system, so they're planning on renovating some of their existing facilities located within Bismarck, within Burleigh County. They're also planning on refinancing some debt that was also used at facilities located within the county. So some of the projects include, the remodeling, expansion of certain facilities for gastroenterology and endoscopy services. And the notice included the specific addresses in which some of the proceeds are anticipated to be spent.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Charles Tuttle again, Commissioner and Chairman Bittner. The issue I have, obviously, they're asking for a tax abatement. During the Measure 4 campaign, Sanford sent out emails to every one of its employees to vote no on Measure 4. So I don't support giving Sanford any tax breaks on anything when they come out and politically oppose a measure that was initiated by the people of North Dakota. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcock.
anybody else want to speak? Or are these MIDA bonds?
No, these bonds are being issued through the South Dakota Health and Educational Facility Authority, so they're not being issued through a North Dakota entity. The conduit issuer for these bonds is in South Dakota, and the proceeds are just expected to be spent within the county.
So my follow-up question, if it's South Dakota Health Association, why are we getting it through Burleigh County?
Yes, good question. So under Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code, it's required in order for tax-exempt bond proceeds to be spent in any jurisdiction that we hold a hearing. So in this case, because Burleigh County is a county that has facilities of Sanford, in which they anticipating using some of those proceeds to renovate and construct and remodel their existing facilities, we need to hold a hearing for approval purposes only. There's no sort of financial liability to the county, and this is merely in order to check a box for the tax code requirements in order to provide Sanford the opportunity to update their existing facilities within the county.
So all these monies will be spent in Burleigh County?
Right. No.
A portion of the proceeds. Sanford is issuing a large...
I couldn't hear the first part. Start over again, will you please?
Sure. So only a portion of the proceeds of this bond issuance will be spent within Burleigh County. They're doing a large plan of finance that will be financing facilities in a variety of states, including North Dakota, Wisconsin, Wyoming, Minnesota. And so only a portion of these Series 2025 bonds are expected to be used within Burleigh County.
Commissioner Bakken.
So basically, these are South Dakota funds, South Dakota bonding, but due to the nature of them being spent across the entire enterprise, all of the affected enterprise locations need to be contacted and have the public hearing for meeting the tax code purposes, correct?
Yes, that is an accurate summary.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is public hearings. Anybody else wish to speak? Once again, this is a public hearing, third and final call. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? Commissioner Schwab.
I don't know why we're getting involved in out-of-state bonding here. I mean, good Lord.
We're actually not. It's
We
just,
actually are.
they're just checking the box.
I'll tell you what, that's a lot of money. I can't support something like this. I mean, why aren't they taking the individual states? I know they're
The money's
going
coming
through
from
the
South
same
Dakota,
thing, but this is crazy. Whatever.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
No.
Commissioner Woodcock.
No.
Chairman Bittner.
No.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcox.
this bonding is a 2.1 billion. I tried to figure out how many zeros were, but it's billion.
Billion.
I really question why they're coming through Burleigh County when the Southwest Basin, they're huge in our area, and I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying there's a hidden reason there that I think that for some reason they're coming through Burleigh County. Why don't they come to the city of Bismarck? Were they approached through the city of Bismarck, or were they? That still bothers me, I guess. I should ask that question before we voted on it.
If bond counsel, you want to weigh in on that at all?
Absolutely. We actually did originally reach out to the city of Bismarck, and the reason that we ended up coming to the county was because some of the proceeds were not directly within the city limits, and in order for us to meet the tax requirements, we need to be within the city limits. So we would have had to go to the city of Bismarck and then another neighboring city. So it seemed most efficient for us to come to the county since all of the addresses were within the county limits of Burleigh County. And so that's why we came here.
Well, moving on. We have an agenda item here addressed to the commission regarding the petition to the North Dakota governor for the removal of the Burleigh County auditor. Nobody explained that one to me, so Auditor Splonskowski, can you explain that?
It was an item requested to be on the agenda, and they did not give me an individual to who was going to present it.
Now, I'm going to challenge this.
Okay.
If there's nothing provided in the packet for the residents to read prior to this meeting, why are we allowing it to be on our agenda? In my understanding that this information needs to be provided so that's in the packet, so that it is public record.
I would agree with that.
And if it's not here, I would prefer to remove this item from the agenda until that information can be provided.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
It's
Second.
kind of clear on here that it's a petition. I have the petition here to read into record for the public
That could have
that is
been
here.
provided for
We have
our
nothing.
packet.
We have nothing, right? Am I
The
correct?
residents that read this packet prior to our meeting have nothing.
Right,
Nor do we.
just like we had with that bond that we just heard.
It's in our packet.
Okay.
It's all in the packet.
I'm just saying, this is kind of the season and the place for people to hear things.
I didn't even get a memo.
We didn't get anything.
We didn't get anything in our packet.
Okay, we've had a number
What
of
needs to
conversations
be
about this.
described in a memo that's not described in this sentence that's on the agenda? Because if the memo would read, addressed to the commission regarding the petition of the North Dakota governor for the removal of the Burleigh County auditor, then there's no necessity to be repetitious. Just the word memo?
I disagree. If it's not in our packet, the information needs to be provided to the residents for them to be able to see it prior to this meeting.
Are there any residents in attendance that are offended right now?
How about
I
the
think what
people
we'll
on
do,
TV?
I'm just asking for those that are
I think
here.
what we'll do is allow you to have an agenda item for the next meeting and ask that you provide backup documentation for that.
Is there a reason that we're so terrified of just hearing what the petition states? Because we have hundreds of signatures on this petition. I think that's representation, and by neglecting hearing it today, we're neglecting the voices of those hundreds of people that we have signatures on.
Well, I do think that I would have to agree with Commissioner Munson that that should be stuff that's in the agenda packet.
Correct.
I don't know where this is coming from, so I looked at it and thought, what is this? Who put this on the agenda? Who requested it?
The residents.
Pardon me?
The people did, the petitioners that have petitioned for this, people of Burleigh County.
The people, who's?
The
Probably.
petitioners that
I'm
signed
not
it.
objecting, I just want to know where it come from.
It comes from
Don't know
people
anything
that
about
are
it.
disappointed in public servants not knowing what the Constitution actually states. That's where it comes from. The very First Amendment says that we have a right to redress our grievances, and that's where this petition is coming from.
Commissioner Schwab?
Normally, when something this important is on the agenda, and there's nothing to see, nothing for the public to see, no way. That is not fair. They need to see it, we need to see it. This is kind of, well, we got this, well, we got that, but show it to us.
Do you have more copies of that? I mean, if he's got an extra copy, we could.
Well, if we'd had this before, I might have considered it.
Yep.
But I,
Do you have an extra copy that you can put on? Request the who. In the back room, if you could turn on the, what's this thing called? Elmo? Oh, like Sesame Street, Elmo? Cool.
We haven't decided whether we're going to hear this or not.
You did approve the
I would ask
agenda.
State's attorney lawyer how we should handle.
Okay, State's Attorney.
I would consider that also a conflict of interest.
It's your meeting, you can decide what you want to do with it.
can't hear.
It's your meeting, you can decide how you want to run it.
Considering Robert's rules, and you guys did approve the agenda, while you're reading it, if you have issues, I'm just going to start reading. Can everybody hear me okay? Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and the people of Burleigh County. I am Cody Seibel, and I am here speaking on the behalf of the committee that drafted this petition. I will stand for questions or defer to another member of our committee, but at this time I intend to read the petition into record. State of North Dakota, County of Burleigh, in the matter of a petition to request the Burleigh County State's Attorney to cease and desist from initiating removal proceedings against the duly elected County Auditor Treasurer on behalf of the County Commission. We, the qualified electors of Burleigh County petitioners versus Julie Lawyer in the capacity as Burleigh County State's Attorney responded. Petition to cease and desist on behalf of the people. The undersigned petitioners, qualified electors of Burleigh County, North Dakota, hereby petition the Burleigh County State's Attorney, Julie Lawyer, to cease and desist all action initiated on behalf of the Burleigh County Commission to remove the duly elected County Auditor Treasurer, Mark Splonskowski. This petition is brought in response to Chapter 44-11 of the North Dakota Century Code, which governs the process of the removal of elected officials. Under North Dakota's Century Code 44-11-02, a petition for the removal of an elected county official may be brought only by 1. 50 qualified electors of the county, 2. 10% of the qualified electors who voted in the preceding general election for governor in that district or subdivision, whichever is less, or number 3, the county state's attorney acting independently. The statute does not authorize a county commission to initiate removal proceedings. Any such action taken by the commission, even if carried out through the state's attorney, circumvents the statutory intent and undermines the democratic process. And since the state's attorney has already proceeded on the behalf of Burleigh County Commission, no one will believe her to be acting independently in the future. The role of the people in electing and, when necessary, recalling public officials is a cornerstone of representative government. Any attempt to bypass that process by using the county commission as a proxy to remove a duly elected official infringes on the rights of the electorate and distorts the balance of power outlined in North Dakota law. Petitioners further assert that Respondent lawyer has pursued removal efforts based on questionable legal grounds, including Hatch Act claims. Public funds have been used for legal efforts that lack clear voter authorization. Dissemination of inaccurate information occurred on at least 2 separate public occasions where respondent lawyer mischaracterized the Burleigh County Home Rule Charter. On both occasions, respondent lawyer inaccurately represented the content of the Home Rule Charter, implying that it would not grant the county commission authority it does not actually possess. Her mischaracterization of the Home Rule Charter misled the public and misrepresented the actual language of the charter. Such misinformation misled the public and eroded trust in county leadership. The involvement of the county commission exceeds its lawful authority and disrupts the will of the voters. The Home Rule Charter ballot measure barely passed, and many voters were unaware of the language buried in the measure that could be interpreted to affect the authority structure between elected officials. I really apologize, you guys. I was supposed to be turning this page. Too many things. Had the public fully understood these implications, it is likely the measure would not have passed. There is a table in here that lists the results of the Burleigh County Measure 1. In the approved, yes votes equivalated 15,409, a percentage of 50.99%. The no votes were 14,811, with a percentage of 49.01. That means that the Burleigh County Measure 1 passed by a margin of less than 1%, underscoring the lack of public consensus. Therefore, petitioners respectfully demand that Julie Lawyer, in her official capacity as Burleigh County State's Attorney, immediately cease and desist from pursuing or assisting in any removal action against Auditor-Treasurer Mark Sponskowski that is initiated at the request of, or in coordination with, the Burleigh County Commission. Wherefore, the petitioners request that all removal efforts against the Burleigh County Auditor-Treasurer be conducted only in strict accordance with the provisions of North Dakota Century Code, Chapter 44-11. That the Burleigh County State's Attorney uphold the statutory requirement that such actions be initiated solely by the people or the State's Attorney acting independently, not at the behest of the County Commission. That the rights of the electorate to choose and, if necessary, recall their public officials be preserved without interference or circumvention. That the Burleigh County Commission be directed to refrain from initiating or directing any further removal proceedings unless explicitly authorized by state law or initiated through lawful public petition. That any expenditures of the public funds related to removal proceedings already initiated be publicly disclosed, along with justification to ensure transparency and accountability. That any further legal interpretation regarding the authority to remove elected officials under the Home Rule Charter be publicly reviewed and vetted by an independent legal authority or advisory board. Respectfully submitted and signed by hundreds of qualified Burleigh County electors, which will be presented to the North Dakota Attorney General, the North Dakota Governor, and the Burleigh County State's Attorney. Thank you for your time. Stand for questions.
Questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcutt?
I think what they're asserting is we're not doing this legally. I'd like to ask our state's attorney. We've been prompted many times that we're doing this legally and according to the state law. Am I assured of that being happened?
So as was stated, there is a petition that can be filed by the state's attorney or by the public to the Attorney General to launch an investigation to make a recommendation to the governor for removal. And that's the process we're doing.
So according to state law, are we doing it under, what'd they say, certain, North Dakota DCC 441102, are we doing it according to that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to address that issue. You would be if they didn't ask for approval by the commission. And she's asked for you to have a resolution to do that. So that circumvents what the intent of the 44-11-02 means. She can independently, but that's not what's happening here. And we've got meeting records to show that. You guys have prompted her to do this. She presented to you as a possibility. She then allowed you guys to make the decision, which you don't have the authority to make that decision, and then a resolution to prompt her to do that. If she had done that independently, that would be different. That's not what's going on here, and that's not the process that you folks have followed.
Do you want to respond to that, Julie?
So it's been the consensus of this commission that
I don't think
it has been the consensus of this commission that a petition be filed. I have to review that to determine if there's enough there to send it to the governor. I still have prosecutorial discretion, even though I'm not prosecuting a case as one would typically see that. However, in looking at all of the information that's been provided, I believe there is enough to send a petition to the Attorney General to launch an investigation.
Okay. Guess that answers that. Thank you.
Can I just ask, again, that is your opinion? Is that, I mean, because like he just stated, this wasn't an independent, so you're giving an authoritative discretionary decision that wasn't yours to take in the first place. And we did elect Mark, we did elect this position. We hold as the voters that we wanted this elected position. And in the home rule charter that we're a little bit irritated with is that that right has been removed from us by 2027. So we see the writing on the wall as to what this has started, and we don't want it. We're protecting an individual that we think is absolutely being attacked, that we elected. And number two, we see the writing on the wall of what's going to happen if and when a board controls the money being spent and the approval of where the money being spent of our tax dollars. This was never meant to happen. There are 3 branches of government for a reason. We're having some bad incestuary relations here.
Thanks for sharing your opinion. Commissioner Bakken?
Julie, just for clarification, is it the home rule charter or is it the century code that allows a county commission to either remove the elected position of a county auditor treasurer or a combined auditor treasurer or reassign those duties? Is it the home rule charter or is it the century code?
It can be both. It depends on how the home rule charter is written. Our home rule charter basically directs people to the century code that allows the commission to redesignate offices. And even without a home rule charter, the county commission can redesignate offices. Even with a home rule charter, the county commission through statute can redesignate offices.
As per century code?
Correct.
Thank you.
So it's my understanding is that it's not a question of what the home rule charter did or didn't do. The law exists for these kind of reasons.
Mr. Chair, if I can.
Commissioner Munson.
I think, and I've heard it out here, and I think you're right, that's 2 different conversations. One is the petition to the governor for removal. 2 is the redesignation of that position. What Commissioner Bakken just asked is redesignation of office and duties is our right by the state, by the century code.
Or the elimination of that position by the century code?
No.
And, yeah. I'd have to double check with Julie on that one.
That's correct. That's what the century code says.
Removal.
Correct.
Okay.
Just like the other 11 counties that have removed the position and hired the position, that's what gave them the authority to do it. It wasn't the home rule charter, it was the century code.
Right.
But let me answer that a little bit. I'm an expert in home rule charters. Home rule charters supersede state law.
Are you an attorney, Charles?
So you don't have to be an attorney to be an expert. I've done more petitions on home rule charters than any lawyer you know. Okay?
Well, that's, are you an attorney?
That has nothing to do with whether I'm an expert in home rule charters.
Just state what you're...
Okay?
Just go ahead.
Home rule charters supersede state law so long as they're not in conflict with state law. So you'll agree with me? You folks have changed the home rule charter as of 2022. You have to wait for Mark's term in order to take and apply those things that you just stated, Mr. Bakken. Okay, you can't apply those things till his term is up. And I understand why you're trying to remove him, so that you can take that election of 2022 and start using it to separate the 2 positions, because Mark was elected with both positions together. That can't be changed until his term is up. That's the problem that you guys have, and that's what you're trying to do. Now, we can go out and get 47 or I think it's 7,800 signatures, and we can change the home rule charter back to the way the people want it. And that's probably what we're going to have to do with what's going on in this last few months. It's just been a disgrace. And I just saw you folks spend $17 million and didn't even know how you were going to finance it. And you talk about Mark and his financial issues. So that's what the home rule charter does. It does supersede state law, but you can't apply the 22 election till Mark's term is up. Would you agree with that, Ms. Lawyer? Did I say anything inaccurate there?
There can't be a change in the job until the term is up. That's correct.
That's correct. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we understand that. There wasn't a
That's not
need
what we're
for,
trying- that's not what we're-
that's not what we're talking about.
I'd like to clarify too.
We're talking about preliminary plans and resolutions and things like that, that I think the last I heard, we're kind of looking at essentially leaving the auditor's office elected. We're talking about changing duties because of the financial problems.
You can't leave it elected because you've already put in the home rule charter.
We're not going anywhere with this.
No.
I'd
Well-
like to clarify something as well, because Julie, you stated that in the North Dakota Century Code that the commission has the right to remove a duly elected official. And can you state where you found that? Because I don't believe the North Dakota Century Code actually allows for a commission to remove an elected official.
They were talking about the office, and the word is elimination, is what's in Century Code. And that's under the Home Rule Charter. I don't have the exact site. If you'd like the exact site, I can look it up real quick.
But you stated that there was an elimination and the removal. An elimination of office is not the same thing as removal of an elected
No, they're,
official.
yeah, they're separate.
Right,
Yeah.
he misstated the word, but he was talking about the elimination of the office. And that's how I understood it.
You know, the office is not being eliminated. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No? Anybody? Questions? No, no
Thank you
questions.
for your
Thank
time.
you. Okay, so next is item number 8, and that's under me, is the consideration of submitting a petition to the governor to remove Auditor Treasurer Splonskowski. And then a discussion on transfer of duties from Auditor Treasurer. And I think that's it for item 8. At our previous meeting, we discussed the petition to remove the governor, and I asked that all commissioners be given an opportunity to provide input on that, and I trust that all commissioners have had that opportunity to provide input to the state's attorney. Looks like you have. So, state's attorney lawyer, any input?
As I had indicated to some of you after the meeting, I had a couple of trials within the last couple of weeks, and so I didn't have an opportunity to get a draft in prior to the publishing of the meeting packet. So I did have one. I did do a draft that I sent to you that I emailed this afternoon that I would request that you just review and then discuss at your next meeting.
Okay. I think that would be appropriate since it was not in the agenda packet and we went around on that. Okay. So we'll move that item to the agenda.
Can I get,
for-
I'd like a vote on that, please. That we postpone it another 2 weeks.
Okay, is that a motion?
You have to vote on whether I want, whatever you prefer.
I would move to move this item to, sorry, I would move that we put item 8A on the next agenda for discussion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to move this to the next meeting. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Woodcock?
We've kicked this can down the road for a year now, and I just think that if we have to change another word in this petition, we're going to have to go back and wait for 2 weeks and discuss whether it's getting beyond we've got to turn the page and move forward for the citizens of Burleigh County. That's, and that doesn't make any difference what side you're on. I think we kicked this down the road so many times that we've got to move on. And we got the petition. There was very little change from the previous one, except one I want to recommend. With the amount of money that Burleigh County has lost, the taxpayers have lost, I think we should have an estimate in there, and there's no estimate. It just says a large amount of money has been lost. And I think we should put a number in that. But that's neither here nor there. I just don't think we can continue to kick this down the road. Hate to overuse that statement, but that's what we're doing. We've been at this for how long? A year?
Okay.
And every day seems like we find something else. So, but that hasn't done nothing to do with this petition yet.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I can, Commissioner, my reason for moving it down 2 weeks, it wasn't in the packet. It should be in the packet for the public to see prior to us making action.
And being that we just got the email today, I'd like further time to review it.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Bakken?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
No,
Commissioner Woodcox?
No.
Commissioner Munson?
Yes.
Chairman Bittner?
No. Motion fails. I do agree, certainly, but I've been a little too close to the drafting and those communications, so I understand it pretty completely. There is information that we've been talking about that the public doesn't know. I was going to try to find one of those emails.
While you're looking that up, I would consider having a special meeting like 2 days from now, or and get this information out, the petition out, and let people look at it. Because I want to move it along. I don't want to wait for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
A special meeting won't take very long, and the public is available, and
That's a reasonable alternative.
yeah.
Commissioners?
Just a thought.
we're going to have meetings and meetings until election time.
Well,
I'm
that's-
getting kind of sick and tired of this whole deal.
Chairman Bittner?
And I do have a problem with getting something like this with just, it's on the agenda and no information
Documentation.
packet. So we can't hardly do anything today.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll schedule a.
Who put this on the agenda, by the way?
Chairman, may I address the commission, please?
Hang on a minute. You're interested in a special meeting to discuss?
I am
this?
interested in it, yes. I move we have a special meeting sometime this week to consider the petition that we're concerned about.
How much public notice do you have to give? 10 days. For a special meeting?
No. I guess we can ask that question to the state's attorney, but I think that we can call a special meeting on it on a real short notice. We have many times.
There isn't any statutory requirement as to a specific amount of days that a notice has to go out for a special meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? I'm thinking about Wednesday, commissioners. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for the special meeting after this, anyway, special meeting. Any further discussion?
I would
Seeing none.
need it Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. Okay, we'll consider the time. Any further discussion? You want something to add to this discussion?
I just wanted to address some of the issues that were brought up in the email from Julie. One of them was stating that I was harassing HR about a leak to Rob Port regarding an investigation into my office. I think that it would be prudent to have those emails public so that the people can see really what happened with that email. And there was an issue I saw. I addressed it in an appropriate manner, I believe. I addressed it with my state's attorney and the HR director. And it's a serious issue, I believe. And I do not see it as a harassment or as a disrespectful, the way in which I addressed that. As well as another issue that was brought up in there is that I filed a complaint against the HR director with a different issue regarding the addition of 2 elected officials onto my hiring panel when hiring an my election coordinator. I think that is a major issue when it is brought up against somebody that they submit a grievance against the department head. I do not believe that that is something that is illegal or is something that should be even considered in this listing of things. But like I said, when it comes to the first item there, I think it would be honest to bring that to the public's attention and the emails that those are in regards to as far as the leaking of that information. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to schedule a special commission meeting. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, so further.
What time on Wednesdays?
Now, we haven't set a time. Anybody have a particular preference on time? I'm thinking, for my purposes, 10 or after is fine.
Yeah, I have an 11 with the Veteran Service Officer and a noon Missouri Valley Complex, so 9:30, 10 would be fine with me.
I'm wide open.
Mr. Bakken? Schedule?
How long do you think we're gonna need to run?
Half hour.
Okay. Yeah, 10 would be fine.
Okay. Commissioner Schwab?
It's all right with me.
Is this room available?
That's something I have to verify with the city.
Okay. So we'll tentatively set it for 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, contingent on the room being available.
How about-
If
how
it's
about-
not available,
How about 5 o'clock on
First.
Wednesday? There won't be any public hearing anyway. It's not a public hearing.
There might be a
Conflict?
City Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
That's possible.
I don't know the schedule for that.
Who's got the schedule of the Baker Room anyway? Is that available now?
schedule.
We'll have an answer here in a minute.
There was a Vision Fund committee at 4 p.m. that was canceled.
It's Tuesday.
Is there a planning meeting on that day?
Wednesday.
I do not.
No, not according to the
Okay.
city's website.
Okay. I prefer 5 o'clock.
Okay. I'd be okay with that. Commissioners?
I can historic preservation at 3. Human relations at 4. Bismarck City Commission special meeting notice Wednesday, May 21st at 5:15.
Is that here? Does it say?
Yeah, I would assume it would be here if it's a city meeting. Yeah, so they're booked up 3 through whenever the city gets done. So there's nothing available in the morning. Or there is availability in the morning according to the schedule.
About the first floor conference room.
Okay, this is. Oh, okay.
First floor conference room is typically available. It's relatively available, at least. Although I don't see the schedule right here.
Okay, you want to tentatively plan it for 5 o'clock in the first floor conference room, provided that's available? And you'll probably check that schedule and get back to us, right?
Yeah, 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock on Wednesday in the first floor conference room. Depending on the schedule. Commissioners, okay?
Fine.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Discussion on transfer of duties from auditor treasurer is the next thing. At our last meeting, the state's attorney explained to us that we can transfer duties from the auditor to other departments. Is that correct?
That is correct, but you have to do that through a redesignation, as we've discussed. There is no way to do that otherwise, unless you rewrite the home rule charter. That's another option. But again, none of that can take place until after the current term is completed.
Okay. Okay, so there's confirmation on that. We'll move on.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't get the whole gist of it. We can't do it at all unless we do what?
You can change the duties of the auditor through the redesignation of offices procedure that you're pursuing at this time. You can also rewrite the home rule charter to outline different duties of offices, but none of that could take effect until the current term is over, until a new term begins.
What, if I might continue, what if the auditor requests or is in agreement with moving something? Would that make any difference?
The Century Code doesn't allow for any exceptions. So even if he were agreeable to that, it could not take effect until this term is over.
Well, we considered moving if I might continue, we considered moving the finance problems over to our finance director. And they agreed they could take it, and I think Mark was considering it before. I don't know whether that's still available or still true. So we can't do that at all, even if everybody agrees to it.
You can't take the duties away. As the current auditor treasurer, he can designate someone to do those duties on his behalf, but he's still responsible for them.
Okay.
Okay, well, I should read a couple highlights out of this email then. So you get a little bit better understanding of why we're doing that. It says in this case, the auditor treasurer contributes at least a -1, if not a -2 FTEs, and that's full-time employees. Not only does he not provide the kind of work product or output one would expect at his level, but he creates additional problems on an ongoing basis due to his incompetence. I've estimated a cost of at least $5 million to Burleigh County.
That's an opinion. Goodness.
This guy is a CPA.
Let's not, we can't allow that.
This guy is a CPA, Charles, and if you want to speak, we'll let you come up to the mic.
No.
But I'm going to keep on going.
You guys should be sued for the defamation that you've caused Mark and this county. You just keep coming up with things. And I saw you guys spend $17 million on a building, and then you didn't even know how it was going to be financed. Well, we have cash laying around. Well, we could use a bond. Well, bonds are high. This is exactly the conversation that went on afterwards, after you spent it. And then you said, well, how about the Bank of North Dakota? Well, nobody's even checked into it.
That has been checked into,
Well, yeah, but you should have done that
Thanks.
before you accepted the bids. You talk about Mark not being responsible. That's not responsible to go ahead and accept $17 million in bids and you haven't even checked out that financing on it. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody makes mistakes, and you guys definitely aren't perfect.
What does it take to run for county commissioner? I think some of these people should step up and you want your opinion in here. We can go on forever and ever, I guess. But
Okay, so here in a nutshell, we're talking about the benefit of doing this. So we know that we would gain at least 1 or 2 FTEs by doing this move, and probably eliminate some of that $5 million in financial losses to the citizens of Burleigh County. So this is information that's provided by the Burleigh County Finance Director. that's pretty much, so to summarize this email, under the reorganization, we gained back the negative 2 FTEs caused by Auditor Splonskowski, another half to 1 FTE from Finance Department's internal audit function, a potential for 1 FTE from improving procedures, with the possible need to use 1 FTE to clean up years of neglect. So conservatively, a net gain of 2.5 full-time employee positions. That's the kind of things that we're dealing with, folks. You know, we're looking at, you know, where there's been comments where the auditor's office needs more staff. There's very few, if anybody, that can agree with that at this point because of the problems that we see going on in that office. And that is the office that single-handedly handles all the finances, and we've come to find out that the total is approximately, at least, it says, estimated a cost of at least $5 million to Burleigh County directly. So, I think it's... No, the audit is being done at this point, and I'll ask you to refrain, like, you know. So, we're going to move forward. Discussion on preliminary resolution for the redesignation of auditor treasurer. There was some changes to that. State's attorney, want to lay that out, or is that in the same category for the? That should be in the special meeting, probably.
It is, and as I indicated, I didn't have an opportunity to get the plan put together, but I did that, sent it out to everyone for review, but I would request that that be tabled again until that's part of the packet.
Okay. So I think we'll include that with the item 8A and item 9 for the agenda for the special meeting. You agree with that, State's Attorney?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so moving on, Burleigh County Extension Agent Kelsey Deckert, NDSU Burleigh County Extension. Welcome, Kelsey.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to pass out quickly just our schedule of events for the 4-H Achievement Days.
Mr. Chairman, while she's doing this, comment to the crowd that are here. We got an item a couple of ways down. Don't leave now. Don't leave. Just hang in there for another 20 minutes, please.
So, Commissioners, I'm just here tonight to, one, formally invite you to our Burleigh County 4-H Achievement Days. As you can see, we have those set for Monday, July 7th through Thursday, July 10th. And I, just like last year, I'm coming to ask for blessing from the Commissioners on some office closures during that week so we can effectively run our achievement days. So this year we're looking for the blessing of closing our office in the afternoon on Monday, June 7th and Tuesday, June 8th. Hoping to get an office closure for Wednesday and Thursday all day, and then we would reopen on Friday to the public. So you can kind of see the events laid out and why I guess I'm asking for those office closures.
Is that your motion?
I don't think I can make a motion. I'm asking for a blessing like I did last year from you guys.
That is your portfolio, you know.
I give the young lady what she wants, because we do it all the time anyway. I understand what they're doing.
I would be in
Motion and a
consensus.
second
Yeah.
to do what she's asking. Any further discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, and we will make sure to advertise that appropriately ahead of time as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff Lieben, DOT safety, traffic safety grant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a repeat of the same grant. We got another addendum to it. We approved, or you approved the original grant. Then I came back with the equipment addendum. Now I'm coming back. The state had funds left over to redesignate. They chose us for an additional $2,000 in funding for impaired driving enforcement. We do have the funding in our budget to cover that, the initial upfront costs, and we get reimbursed for it. So I would ask your permission to accept that addendum and then it would need to be signed by Chair Bittner electronically and Auditor Splunskowski.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
County Engineer Hall, developer waiver request and township mileage certification in front of you, or in front of me, I guess. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. The first item I have on the agenda is a pavement waiver request. Under the current pavement policy, developers, owners of property that are desiring to have their property platted, are required to pave particular roads, section line roads, and/or internal roads within their proposed subdivision. From time to time, these are small subdivisions that are put together, and the individual asks for a waiver to this policy. We have a request to do such a thing in Apple Creek Township, the Cruz subdivision. It's a two-lot subdivision that's going to be put together. Under the pavement policy, they would be required to pave about 3/4 of a roadway. The pavement policy, if you do grant a waiver, does allow the county board to approve the plat. However, it does still require, at some point in the future, the property owner will share in the cost of the construction and paving of that particular roadway. There's a map in your packet that shows location, and there's a proposed resolution, which I would recommend.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the payment waiver request. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries.
The next item I have is, every year the county board is required by the state of North Dakota to certify the number of township roadway miles within the county. The list of miles are in the board letter in your packet. A detailed list is also put together. What this, in a form that is, I think I did, yeah, I did include that in the packet too. So you have that information. This particular form is required that the county chair sign off on that. So the board letter in your packet is just stating that the county chair can go ahead and sign that packet. I'd recommend approval.
Commissioners, any question?
Move we approve?
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. We'll
Thank
sign it
you.
right now.
Stay here a minute, Marcus. Everybody get that notice on that, we closed that bridge south of McKenzie? And somebody went and took all the barricades down. Now, we re-barricaded it. So, closing a bridge, I know people don't like, and we're never going to know if we saved a life, but we're going to know we don't lose one. So the thing about it is, we did close that road, and who's ever taken them barricades down, very careful. And I just make a statement on that because right now we won't lose a life.
So the road is closed for a good reason.
That's correct. So, thank you.
Want anything else?
Nope. I
Marcus,
think
could you
nailed
just
it.
expound a little bit on why it's important? Because with all this rain we've had, I can imagine the problem with that bridge has been extremely exacerbated.
Yeah, Commissioners, that particular bridge is, the area of real concern is the piling that we have on that. And whenever you get super saturated soils in a situation, especially around abutments and stuff like that, you can get some weird things going on. So it is important that bridge stays closed, that our signage stays up, and the public, and I do know it's an inconvenience to them, but we are trying to protect them the best we can. So,
Thank you, Marcus.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, item 13, County Facilities Director Hook, bids for the boiler replacement and heating upgrade. Welcome, Bob.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chairman Bittner. In your packet, I believe it's page 105 and 106. They did the bid opening for the boiler project that was initiated last year. We had two two bid openings, and the bid was, came in with Corval Construction at $720,000. We would need to get that approved to move forward with that.
Okay.
Of course, the initiation of this project predates me, so I have some limited knowledge on it, but I've got Blake from Prayer Engineering here if there are any questions about the project further than.
Commissioners, do you have any questions about the project? This is a continuation of the boiler replacement. We started, I think we're halfway through it already. The money was in the budget for this, and I see no reason to move, no reason to not move forward.
It's for the courthouse.
Yeah, it's boilers for the courthouse.
Move we approve, please.
Second?
Motion is second to approve the courthouse boiler bids. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, County HR Director, Binder Health Insurance Review. Health insurance.
Good evening, Chairman Bittner, Commissioners. I do have the health insurance review that I go through every year. We have a self-funded insurance plan for Burleigh County, and we keep track of our claims and our premiums. So in your package, you have the sheet, and it's probably in the back of my information because you have the memo up front, where I can go through the costs that are involved with our health insurance plan. Because we are self-funded, we pay our own claims, and we pay administrative fees, and we reinsure ourselves with stop-loss insurance for the high-dollar claims. So we keep all of that, and that's pretty much what Section 1 is. That's our costs. So our health insurance payments went from almost 5 million in 2019, which was the first year of our self-insured plan, all the way to 4.7 in 2024. And then our RX payments, pharmacy payments, were at 797, almost 800,000 in 2019, and now they're 1.7 in claims. And then our Blue Card, that is the fee that we pay when we go outside of North Dakota, and one of our employees has to have services, medical services outside of North Dakota. Because it's part of the Blue Network, it's called Blue Card, so we get charged fees for that. Our stop-loss credits are what we get for our high-dollar claims. Our stop-loss is at a $60,000 aggregate per event. And so once they get past that $60,000, then we are reinsured, so we get the credits. We file a claim with our stop-loss insurer, and then we get the credits back for what the claims cost above that $60,000. And then we also pay the stop-loss premiums, and those have gone up, and that's in Section 2. So we have our stop-loss premium totals, our Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Dakota administrative fees, because Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Dakota is our third-party administrator. They administrate our claims for us, and for that, they charge a fee, and also different programs, and they also help us with some of our regulations that are required. PCORI fees, that's the research fee that was assigned by the Affordable Care Act. Self-insured plans have to pay this research fee, and it's so much per head. And so we've been paying that from 2020 to 2024. We'll have to continue to pay that unless they decide they're going to eliminate that. I have no indication that they will. So our total premiums and fees for 2024 was $7.3 million. Our total plan costs after the adjustment was $4.8 million. And then the third is what our contributions are. So we have employer contributions that go in, employee contributions. We have COBRA contributions, and that's the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. That allows employees that quit with Burleigh County to carry on their health insurance for 18 months at the regular plan cost. So it's not subsidized by the county at all. So we do have COBRA, not a lot, but we do have some COBRA fees in there. And then our total premiums collected are 7.4. And if you go into the profit loss, so what do we carry over per year? You can see last year we carried 93,000 over, which is good because in 2021 and 2022, we were negative. And I'd always said that, or we always thought with health insurance that during the pandemic, our claims would be busted. We would have so many claims that it would bust the insurance plans. That's the opposite happened. We had people that didn't go get their elective surgeries, stayed away from the hospitals, didn't want any part of it. And so you can see that in 2021 and 2022 especially, the claims went back up. And they actually went back up with a vengeance because people were now, since they put off those knee replacement surgeries, hip replacement surgeries, they were going in to have those done. So we do have the ongoing reserves of $772,000, so $773,000. Now, when this plan was first put in place as a precautionary safety net, the commission decided or moved that they would provide the plan with $3.2 million. We call this a loan on the Health Insurance Committee, but it wasn't a loan. It was the safety net in case the plan went in the negative. Because it usually happens in the second year of a plan. If they don't have that safety net, they go into the negative and the plan gets in trouble. And then you have to ask the commission, we need funds. So to alleviate that, they allotted the $3.2 million. Our Health Insurance Committee, that's made up of our employees, some of our employees, has treated that like a loan. And so we have made 3 $500,000 payments back to the general fund because we have not needed that 3.2. So we have 1.7. So I do have, going back to my memo, the Health Insurance Committee met last week, and because we want to keep our plan healthy, we did come up with a recommendation for a health insurance increase for 2026, and we came up with an 8% increase because that seems to be keeping up with the claims. Because we had an 8% increase last year, and we did have some left over. So we're looking at an 8% increase this year, and we were also wanting to request that we, in 2026, do a $700,000 payment from that $3.2 million or $1.7 million that is in the account. And we also ask that the $1 million that remains in that account gets transferred over to the health insurance account itself so that we can collect the interest off of that. What has been going on is our interest that we earn on that health insurance account, all of it has been going back to the general fund, which is fine for the funds that were loaned, that 3.2, but all of the interest includes employee contributions and employer contributions, and that's a violation of ERISA and the Employee Benefit Security Act, because we cannot profit from employee contributions to a health insurance plan. It could disqualify our plan. So we have to segregate that. So we have issues trying to segregate the interest from the 1.7 and the interest from the employee contributions that are in the account. Because those employee contributions hit the account, they go into the account, and then when claims come, they're taken out. But the contributions can stay in there for 3 to 4 months, and the claims will come after that. So there's interest that's earned that is actually earned off of the employee contributions, and we cannot have that. So that is why the Health Insurance Committee recommended an 8% increase for 2026, the $700,000 payment for 2026 into the general fund, and then the request to transfer that remaining $1 million into the health insurance account so that we can account for the interest the correct way. So I do have a motion on the back of my memo if you choose to do that. It's up to you. The Health Insurance Committee is just an advisory committee. We don't make any motions or any final decisions. We can just advise on what we think would be best to do. The commission has to make the motion on what they want to do.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. Commissioners, you have a suggested motion in front of you.
Move to approve the motion that has been printed in our document.
Second.
Can you go ahead and read that, though,
Sure.
just for the sake of those that are at home that aren't privy to our document?
The motion is, if there is an agreement, let's see. If there's an agreement with the above recommendations, the motion would be for the commission to approve an 8% health insurance premium increase for the 2026 plan year. Also approve the transfer of $700,000 from the health insurance appropriation loan account back into the general fund, and transfer the remaining balance of $1 million into the health insurance plan directly to add to the plan reserves for clarification of record keeping for interest earned on the plan reserves.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Commissioner Bakken?
So Pam, the accrued interest on the $1 million, does that go back into the plan, or how are those funds
Currently,
utilized?
it's going back into the general fund.
Okay.
So the plan does not get that interest.
So
It
that's
has not.
that'll stay at 1 million as a reserve or safety
Well,
net?
what will happen is that 1 million will just transfer into the health insurance plan, and then it'll help build the reserves with its interest.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Finance Director Jacobs. Item 15, we got primary residence credit updates and investment and bank documentation.
Chair Bittner and Commissioners. Yeah, just a couple quick updates here. So the PRC, primary residence credit, we've talked about that a little bit here. So a couple of issues to address. So there's two parts to the PRC. There's the real estate, real property side, and then the mobile home side. So that's why if you refer to the packet, I have, I think, two schedules, and they're so titled, real estate and mobile home. And actually, they're titled exceptions to the PRC report. So in the first case, we have some differences that arose between when our reporting was submitted to the tax department in December. So we tell the tax department who qualifies for the PRC in our county. And then in this year, in March, we received the money for those parcels from the Treasury. So during that time period, if you can imagine that, 3-4 months, stuff happens. So on the real estate side, if you have people who applied for abatements in that time period, the following, scenario might arise. So in December, someone gets credited with a $500 PRC, but between December and March, they apply for, let's say, a homestead credit, and their tax burden is reduced to zero. So they get approved for $500, and in the intervening months, it's reduced to zero. The county receives $500 from the tax department, so we now have an exception. So we just have some extra money from the tax department that we will return to the tax department. And so that, I think, has already happened on the real estate side. So that's for real estate. So on the mobile home side, we had some differences as well. These were mostly due to either confusion on our end or certainly a failure to apply the tax department guidance. And so the following scenario came up and was asked and answered of the tax department. If somebody, a mobile homeowner, owes $500 in property taxes, but they pay before the 5% discount date, so therefore they only pay $475. Should they get the full $500 credit, or should they get $475? So the tax department said to give them the full $500. Many county auditors disagreed with that. I don't know how other counties handled it specifically, but Burleigh sent the mobile homeowners the PRC net of a 5% discount. So in the example above, we sent the $475 instead of the $500. So we ended up with, as you can see in the packet, a long list of exceptions. And so that will require a second check run to remit the balance to the mobile homeowners, so the 5% balance back to the mobile homeowners. it does seem questionable that taxpayers are receiving more than they actually paid for property taxes, rather than simply reducing the tax burden to zero, as in the case of other tax credits like the homestead credit. Maybe that was an oversight when the law was passed, but nevertheless, the tax department's guidance was consistent to just give them the full amount. So I'll pause there. That's what I have on the PRC update. I can pause for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Whitmer.
This was the $500 residential credit that everybody who applied for got. And so then when the state sent us the 10 point whatever million that people had applied for, we split it up according to us, the city, the county, or the, what is it, the school district and the park district, right? And we were supposed to send them that amount, right?
Correct.
Am I correct? Whose responsibility was doing that? What does that come under? Is that under your office? or-
Under the Century Code, it's the responsibility of the county auditor.
Auditor,
treasurer,
okay.
or-
Was that
or
done
treasurer.
timely? Have we finished it? Is it all done or what?
Well, I'm a little confused about the timing on the real estate versus the mobile home. The mobile homes, we have to issue a second check run that may have been done already. But I'm not sure where that actual time frame, if it only applies to the real estate. The thing is that mobile homes, everybody's getting their PRC based on the 2024 year. Okay, but the difference is that for a real estate, they get a credit, so it comes off the top. But mobile, because real estate you pay in arrears. Mobile home you pay at the beginning of the year for the next year. So mobile home people are actually this year in tax year 2025, but they're getting the PRC for tax year 2024, which means they already paid in, they're getting cash back. If you're real estate, you just get a credit,
Right.
so you just pay less. So that's where the timing, I don't know if there's a timing difference or not. I don't think it says any. Maybe the state's attorney might have some input on that. I don't think the actual law distinguishes between real estate and mobile home. So I would imagine that perhaps we're later on the mobile home because of this issue.
So
if that makes sense.
Are we done with this
I
project?
think we're close. The one thing we have left is we are remitting the interest that we earned during the late period on that 10.7 million. We are remitting that to all the taxing districts. So that is like this week going out the door.
So if I might continue, so when did we receive the 10.7 million?
March 28th.
March 28th, and it was supposed to be done within a 2-week period, right?
Correct.
14
days.
14 days, yeah. Okay. So here we are another month later, still working on it, correct?
That's
Are other
correct.
counties having that problem, or are we the only ones?
I couldn't
know?
say. I don't
Okay.
see any more chatter coming through the email groups, so they're not talking about it that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Whether they're finished or not, I couldn't say.
Okay, thank you.
So the second item is about investment documentation. And so the investment issues that we've been having that are improving in terms of investing cash as stuff matures. So that is improving, and/or investing cash as it's deposited, like in the case of sales tax. We're also working on closing some underperforming accounts. That is ongoing, maybe even done, the one that I'm thinking of. However, as we're doing these things, we're not also ensuring that the transactions are journaled into the general ledger as they're made. So just to take us back a little ways, in December of 2024, during an investment committee meeting, the finance department presented an investment checklist to the committee. and recommended that the county adopt this checklist as part of the investment procedures. And that checklist is in the packet. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a list of things to do, documentation to attach each time an investment is made. The last question on the checklist is a copy of the adjusting journal entry attached. And so at the meeting that I just mentioned, Auditor Treasurer Swonskowski declined to adopt the use of the investment checklist developed by the Finance Department. So what's happening presently is that, we'll call the bank and we'll transfer cash, but we won't then go to the journal and make the transfer in the books. Or in another example, an investment will mature and we will reinvest either with the same entity or a different entity, but will not always make sure those entries make it into the accounting ledger. And so this is not to say that, the auditor treasurer needs to draft the journal entries himself, but someone in the chain of command needs to, ensure that the transaction is journaled into the ledger in a timely fashion. Recently, we've spent some time rewriting our investment accounts in the general ledger so that we can better track investment performance among our individual investment accounts. If you recall, in the past, we have recorded all of our investments in one account, which is investments. This could be 5, 6 different entities all in one general ledger account. And we've also recorded all of our interest in one account, interest revenue. And so that made it impossible to know how any one account was performing or underperforming. It's all rolled up. And so what we've done is we've gone and, broken this out so that we have Wells Fargo investments, Wells Fargo interest, Bank of North Dakota investments, Bank of North Dakota interest. And so then you can run a report from your ledger and see, what kind of interest you're earning on these different accounts. And you could quickly see if something's underperforming and investigate it and, address it. If it's all rolled up, we would have no idea if something's not invested, for example, at least just looking at the ledger. So this, not preparing these journal entries is making it really difficult to, to see this project through, I guess, this project of breaking out the accounts. So we're also at risk of losing track of investments. And this already happened in December with the losing track of investments already happened in December with a CD from. Did you want to speak? Go ahead. This already happened in December with a CD from Brevera Bank. The CD matured December 13th, and the county had set it to automatically renew. So I think if you look in the packet, you will see should be a cover sheet from one of these CDs. And there are a variety of options that you can choose when you set up a CD. Some of them are just, confirming the type of interest rate, fixed versus variable.
Are you referring to the CD deposit receipt from the 15th with Brevera?
That's correct,
Okay.
Yeah. And so, you can say the automatically renewable, right? Or single maturity, not automatically renewable. So there's some check the box options. These are just simple things that we could do to prevent this from happening. We can also, request that interest is paid every month, so that every month we get a statement which would let us know where these CDs are. But so what happened is that automatically renew was checked, and that's what happened. The CD renewed, and so basically at the end of the year, when we're preparing the books for audit, I'm looking at the investment listing, and I see that this investment has matured. And so it's not on our investment listing that we send to the state auditor's office, $680,000. But in fact, it had renewed, and so it was actually an investment that was on the books at year end. It just wasn't on our tracking sheet. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, well, great. You know, we've sent the books off for audit, and now we've got a $680,000 difference between our investment listing and what's actually in the general ledger. And so in this case, we either didn't receive the notification or we didn't react to the notification. So what ended up happening is when this thing automatically renewed, it somehow was allowed to renew, or somehow renewed or defaulted to renew at 0.3%, which was probably, I understand that happens. I mean, that's not so strange when a CD is allowed to renew, but it renewed at 0.3%, and prevailing rates are over 4%. And so fortunately, the bank alerted us to this in February when we contacted them about a different CD. And they were very good. They were able to adjust, I think it was Brevera, the interest rate from 0.3 to 4.10, and then they backdated the interest for us. So that was, you know, that was pretty nice of them. I mean, they didn't have to do that. But so that's kind of where we're at on the investment side. I mean, some things are improving, but this documentation issues is persisting.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Woodcock.
So the $680,000 renewed automatically in the middle of December, and it renewed at 0.3% rather than 4.5 or 5, what we were getting before.
That is
approximately.
that is my understanding.
Okay, and that sat there for 3 months till February, and the bank calls us and say, hey, you got a CD that you renewed at 0.3%, it should be at 4, or whatever they gave us, 4.1. They, out of the goodness of their heart, they backdated the interest, so we got paid for that 3-month period, but and then we renewed it, we reinvested it at 4.1, the going prevailing rate. Is
And
that
actually,
correct?
I do have the addendum in the packet. It was 0.3, but it was actually 4.25 was the new rate.
The new rate.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yes, my understanding is that they backdated it at the rate of
But
4.25.
we have CDs all the time and they're renewed, aren't we? Are we supposed to be looking at that and renewing them at the current rate? And we might want to move them to another institution. If we got too much money in one account, we move them to another. Is that right?
Yeah, so, my understanding is that even if it's set to automatically renew, we still get a notice. And so we should use that, we should use that notice period of, hey, your CD's maturing in X days. We should use that period to rate shop, and we do. We have been doing that. That's one of the other improvements over the last couple of months is we have been getting bids, and it's been working for us. Just as an example, we were set to move some money out of one bank, and then asked if they could match, and they said yes, and so we didn't have to move the money. So which is convenient.
And the general journal entries you're talking about, have we changed that policy at all, or are we still not entering them in the general journal? I don't understand that process, but you're the CPA, not me.
It's your accounting ledger. I mean,
Okay, right.
I invested X dollars on this day. We're not seeing the journal entries come through. We're not having discussions about journal entries. We're not always aware of when investments are made. We will take the bank statements and try to piece together, what has transpired where we don't have journal entries. But that was sort of the idea with the checklist was, to attach the journal entry at the time that we make the entry. So it's there, and then also so somebody else can review it. And say, yes, this makes sense. This is the right journal entry to make. Yes, it's for the right amount of money. You've got the supporting documentation here. I concur, and let's post it, type of thing.
So are we losing investments? If we don't put them in the journal, we don't even know they exist. They're floating out there.
It's tough. Yeah, it's not advisable.
Tough to track it?
Yeah, it's not advisable, that's for sure.
Thank you. Does it take action by us to make that change?
My understanding is that, that the investments are the domain of the auditor treasurer. So I don't know what action, I mean, I guess I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Lou.
Chairman Bittman, may I address the commission, please?
Yes.
So, just a kind of an update to build off of Lee's position. Yes, I actually noticed the automatic renewal of those funds in that particular bank, and I called them and I said, "Hey, what's going on with this investment?" They told me what was happening, and then I was able to negotiate that they go ahead and observe and attach that percentage interest rate, backdating it back to when it would have automatically renewed. So that's something that I was able to find and communicate with that bank in order to correct that issue. That being said,
So typically do you just automatically check the box for automatic renewal? Or how does that process work? And is that a conversation to have beforehand or not with the bank about what's the default interest rate if it automatically renews?
that's probably something that could be negotiated in future investments. The cure right now to that issue has been, and I communicated this with the finance director office, that I in fact started an entire new folder for our investments, and with each and every investment, I file every single quote that I received for those.
So should they not be checked automatic renew so you get the notification about a renewal, or?
Well, and that's something, like I said, that's something I can negotiate with the banks in future investments. But for right now, our tracking has been I go ahead and document the quotes that I received from at least 2 banks, if not more. I try to get more if I can. And then also any discussion that was had on that particular investment. So, for instance, if there's an investment with CENTCOM funds, I reach out to Mike Dannenfelser from Missouri Valley Complex. I reach out to Commissioner Munson, make sure that make sure we can meet his liquidity needs, as well as any other individuals that might be involved in that in particular investment. Then once that investment is made, then I actually also document and file the receipt of that particular investment. You saw an example of that in the packet. Okay. So that's something that we've been tracking very well, and I make sure that the finance director, he knows where those files are kept. In fact, they're kept over in his folder to make sure that he has full access to all that information. And then also, just recently, we've been making some big changes in our investments, and I was actually able to go down the list of our approved depositories and add a bank into our investment portfolio that wasn't originally in our investment portfolio, because they were able to offer an investment interest rate that was better than anybody else that we were able to find. So I was able to go out, track those down. I had to call several banks in order to find something like that, but I was able to go ahead and secure that a much better interest rate than some of the other banks were able to provide. So yeah, can we improve? Absolutely. We always looking to improve our policies and procedures and how we do things. But just to let you know, as Lee also said, it is improving. Our processes are improving, and our records keeping is getting substantially better.
Mr. Chair. Commissioner Munson.
Auditor Sponskowski, and apologize, I'm not your portfolio holder, so I don't track this very well, but this first email basically says that Brandy, who at the time was the assistant, didn't document this purchase from 5 years ago, right? 4.5 years ago. Any likelihood we have more out there that are not documented?
Not at this time. I've been looking a lot over the investments, making sure that we have everything in line. We have a relatively, we get a lot of turnover in our investment, as in maturities. And so we get to relook at those funds relatively often. Okay. And I've been able to look at a lot of those different ones to make sure that they are accounted for and that the documentation is improving, especially as we move forward.
Makes me nervous when I see this.
Me too.
No documentation was kept on something that was done in 2020.
Absolutely.
And
Well, and that brings up the ledger entries
Right.
too, which,
Right, what's going on?
why can't we get that reclamated with the finance department and make sure that,
A month or so ago, I know Auditor Sponskowski gave us a list of all investments that we knew about. But then I see this one we didn't know about, so now I question.
We did know about it.
Okay,
That was included in there.
okay,
I knew about that one.
okay. Thank you.
So with regards to the question about journal entries, what are you doing about that?
Well, that's something that we can definitely improve if Lee wants us to. That's not something that he's brought up to us in the recent future, at least. As I said, if we can go ahead and continue to improve our procedures and policies, I'll definitely be talking to staff about that tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wood.
but it was the recommendation of the investment committee that you do that, and it didn't happen. Is that correct?
That checklist was a recommendation.
I'm not talking about the journal,
of the
the
investment
journal entries.
I'd have to go back in the minutes and look at that. I can't answer that offhand. But like I said, that is a part of that checklist that the finance director did recommend. My concern with approving it right off the bat was I wanted to start making changes incrementally. I didn't want to dive into something and have the commission vote on something that ended up not working as well as we were hoping it would. So once we go ahead and improve our policies, procedures, and we find something that works, then we can present a quality product to the commission.
But it was an accounting procedure that was recommended to you, and you declined to do it. That's my point. Now you're saying you're going to look into it. Is that?
What I declined to bring before the commission immediately was that checklist.
Was pardon me, the
Was
check,
the
the whole,
checklist.
the entire checklist?
Was that checklist as it stood.
Should we have an investment committee if they're making recommendations and they don't happen? Does that make sense? Why do we even have one?
Right, well, we had a recent, maybe Lee could provide a little information on that, but we had a recent investment committee meeting where we determined the decision of the committee was to invest a certain amount of money at a certain period of time, and then a certain amount of money and whatever that ends up being for another period of time, and then a third chunk of money. And the goal was to have those mature at different rates. And then my understanding is that that's not what happened with the money. Do you have anything to say about that?
To my understanding of the committee, that is what happened. I was able to not only diversify the amount that we were discussing, I was able to split that up into a couple different banks, so we weren't so heavy into one, and also make sure that they are maturing at similar times. However, they are in two different banks at very good interest rates. Based on the quotes that I was able to get at the time. Also, I was able to go ahead and invest in another institution that we were in per my understanding of the investment committee's actions. So as far as I know, I was able to and have been able to go ahead and fulfill the wishes of that committee.
That's not the way I understood it. Lee, do you have anything to add on that?
Chair Bittner and Commissioners, my recollection of the meeting, and Commissioner Bakken is on the investment committee as well, was we had discussed doing, I believe, 10 million for 12 months, 10 million for less than 12 months, 9, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Let's just say 9, and that we had discussed taking our ARPA funds and investing that for 3 months, because we typically reimburse ourselves on a quarterly basis. And then there was another small chunk of 3 or 4 million that I think we had discussed investing with a broker dealer at. I don't know that we gave a firm time limit there, but I think what actually transpired is we had 10 for 12, 10 for 12, and then ARPA for 6 rather than 3. And so the risk with doing, having everything mature at 12 months is if rates go up in 6 months, now we don't have an opportunity to reinvest for another 6 months. Versus if we have some stuff maturing in 9 months and rates go up in 6 months, then we can have an opportunity to reinvest in 3 months at that point. So that's the logic behind sort of staggering our maturities, is so that we can protect ourselves from rates falling because we're locked in at higher rates. And we can also capitalize on rates going up because we know we'll have something maturing, you know, basically I'd say all the time, but we don't want that because that's a nightmare to manage. But certainly, you know, every 3 months or so, we would see something maturing. But this is, again, going back to recommendations that weren't adopted. We talked about setting up an investment mix, and that would tell us how much do we want invested at 3 months, how much do we want invested at 6 months, and that's another recommendation that was not adopted. But Chair Bittner, in this particular case, as I said, I recalled 12, 9, and 3, and what happened was 12, 12, and 6.
Okay. Thanks, Lee.
Well, and that's kind of interesting because when I reinvested their ARPA funds, Finance Director Lee was standing right there and nodded his consent. So, kind of interesting that if he didn't agree with it at the moment, why he didn't say so, I don't know. But I specifically invited him into my office as we were looking at those investments to make sure that he approved of what was going on with that particular one. So, if he disagreed at the moment, maybe he should have said so.
Okay, thanks for your input.
Thank you.
Okay, down to agenda item 16, that would be Auditor Treasurer Splonskowski. 3 items, Missouri Valley Complex Purchase Inquiry, Budget Committee Discussion, and Parking Lot Transfer Update.
Oh, guess I'm back. So, Chairman and Commissioners, I received a few different emails from a broker company expressing some interest in purchasing a part of the Missouri Valley Complex. This is here a few months ago. I told him that to my knowledge at the time, the commission was not in favor of selling any property at the time. And then, so he emailed me here recently since the last commission meeting and asked me about it some more. I responded to him. I told him, well, there's a couple different things we can do. You can submit an offer, and I can present that to the commission, or I can just ask the commission, see if there is an appetite at all for that. Either way, it still has to go open to the open market for open bids or on real estate, and be opened up to any and all buyers. So I told him I would present it to the commission, see what your thoughts are. That way I can give him a definitive answer.
Commissioner Bachman.
What are they inquiring about as far as acreage?
It was a certain portion of it. I don't know if they specified the exact acreage.
I don't recall this board having a conversation about the willingness or lack of willingness to sell the property. So for the future,
Yeah, well, go ahead.
I don't think you should be telling folks that the commission is not interested in selling land or whatever when we haven't had a chance to discuss it. Try to make it so that they can, people, wherever they are, can bring those things to the commission. Because I think that's pretty important.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing now.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Woodcock.
So several months ago, you got an interest from somebody who wanted to buy some land. Did you talk to your portfolio holder to see whether there was any interest or what his opinion was or anything? Did you contact him at that time?
I did not.
Thank you.
We've had this conversation. When I saw the agenda on Wednesday or Thursday, I talked to Mark, and I expressed my concern that I would have liked to have been brought into this conversation early so that he and I could have had a conversation to prepare the board. At this point, my motion would be to deny the request at this point until there is more information. I would like to deny the request completely, but I want to at least hear.
Commissioner Bachman.
Yeah, I've long-standing, that's that property belongs to the people of Burleigh County.
Yep.
And needs to be utilized by the people of Burleigh County. I'm not in favor of selling that unless there would be some ridiculous offer that would put the county in a position to go acquire the same acreage or more at a lesser rate in a location that might be more amenable for the county residents. So in that regard, I wouldn't be opposed to entertaining an offer, but for me, it's more of a land swap than anything else. If we can go out and find some similar property that we could develop for the benefit of Burleigh County, but just giving up land for the sake of parceling off something for development in the terms of commercial space, I am not in favor of.
And it's of a data center.
Yeah, well,
Doesn't matter what.
it's hard for me to separate that, but
Yeah.
I am separating that. It doesn't matter what it is. I still am in favor of retaining acreage for the benefit of Burleigh County, because we haven't had a county fair forever. We have agriculture interests that we need to address. We have multiple things that we could utilize that facility for and need to. We need some property for it. So if somebody wants to overpay for a parcel of land that we have that we can utilize to buy at a cheaper rate, I'm in favor of looking at the business opportunity there, but just for the sake of selling off property, I am not in favor of, because that belongs to the residents of Burleigh County.
We've had a good year of growth and activity at that facility, and
Then we have to look at are we displacing Buckstop Junction, which is by default our heritage
right.
and out there. It's like there's a lot to look at, and something would have to be able to pay for all of that to take place. I'm not opposed to entertaining an offer, but better be a hell of an offer.
Well, I can tell you, in my personal experience, it's not unusual for large companies to do that sort of thing where you do a land swap. We've been involved in a few of those, my family, primarily my mom and my aunt, and the trust and the whole thing. That we've done land transfers where, like the coal gasification plant wanted this particular land, and they bought us land elsewhere, comparables, and so it's not unheard of at all. So I think that in order to even entertain the thing, we'd have to have something on the table to.
Because honestly, if we had an opportunity to get out of the ETA and be able to develop something as we see fit, I would be in favor of that.
You know, and I do know from working through some of the planning and zoning process, you know, one of the concerns with these data centers is kind of the proximity to a house. Well, that happens to be one location in Burleigh County where it's actually quite a distance to most homes.
It's
probably
prime
one
real
of the-
estate because of its location, but now you're looking at, are there concerns with power for the jail? Because what's going to happen if there's some sort of a brownout because of power consumption? And there's a lot to look at.
There's a lot.
I'm not opposed to entertaining options, but there's a lot to look at, and there's a lot to think through.
Okay.
Next.
So
You want to move forward with consensus, or you want to make that a motion?
I would be in favor of hearing what somebody has to say about it.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine with the consensus on that.
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear more.
If you want to bring something forward.
As long as it's done in the proper manner, that would be fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate this, I do not like the portfolio system as it is, because if it's done right, it works. If it isn't done right, you got problems. And this time it was not done right. It wasn't, we're getting something 3 or 4 months later, whatever it might be, and whether we want to consider it or not. But that's not the way to run an operation, the portfolio system.
Okay, so if you want to return, or if they want to return with some kind of proposals or
Sure.
something,
I'll
we'll
reach out to
consider that at some later date. Next, budget committee discussion.
Yeah, so I just wanted to see what dates might work for you guys. Typically, we look to the middle to end of June to have a budget committee. So I'm just basically asking, do you want to have a budget committee? What members do you want to have on? What members do you want to have on that budget committee? And then what dates should I look at trying to lock down the room for it?
I think one of the things you want to be aware of, commissioners, is if we're appointing members of that board, that'll make it a kind of a public meeting issue, you know.
Yeah, we've always had 2 on before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the question is whether we're appointing them as the commission, so they're a board under the commission or a committee. Know what I'm saying? I think we have some volunteers for the budget committee. I think certainly the budget committee would be, probably involve the auditor, probably the HR director, and probably the finance director, and then commissioners that may want to be on that. Any volunteers for the commission? Well, everybody got really quiet.
I'll serve on it, and I've done
I say I've done it too, and it was an
Before.
enjoyable
it
process.
several times.
So,
Okay, so volunteers, so that essentially could become the committee.
If it doesn't happen, as far as I'm concerned, in my particular position, won't burn me up if somebody else wants to take it. I do think it's very important that we keep the budget committee alive. I don't want that to disappear, because the budget process is really long, strenuous, and very, very important. And when we have the last couple ones that were off by 3-4 million, we don't want that to happen again. We just can't have that happen and overtax Burleigh County. It's got to be accurate.
Well, I think for continuity's sake, just because you guys are aware of some of the pitfalls that you ran through, I think you guys would be good for it this time, just as we're getting back to normalcy.
yep.
Okay.
So
Dates?
I'm sorry, so just to make sure I've got it right, the auditor, the HR director, the finance director, Commissioner Woodcox, and Commissioner Munson. Is that correct?
Yep.
So should we review the process we're doing now? All of the department heads are supposed to review their budget from last year and make adjustment to that and bring it forward to the budget committee. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Portfolio
they go
holder
to
first?
portfolio holder first,
Right.
then
Yep.
then of course the budget committee.
My only request, Auditor Sponskowski, is that we stack a few more on each day instead of having it drawn out for 3 or 4 days.
I can do that.
I think we can definitely do this a lot faster than last year.
Yeah,
And
I think
I-
1 day would have been sufficient last year.
Yep.
I don't think there was a need for even 2 days, let alone.
And I'll also add relevant page numbers.
Thank you.
Good. Talked about page numbers. When we get our agenda, what's wrong with putting liquor license renewal, page 48? Or discussion of transfer of duties, page
Yeah,
24?
I'm seeing Tom.
Duly
shaking his
noted.
head yes.
Yep.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next parking lot transfer update.
So yeah, this is just an update on the last meeting's discussion, and I discussed it with Finance Director Jacobs, and he can correct me if he has different thoughts. But basically, neither of us see the benefit of keeping that parking lot fund or that specials fund open. So what I would recommend that we do is we take the funds from that specials account, transfer that over to the parking lot fund to make it whole, transfer the balance of it into the general fund reserves, and delete both of those funds. That would clean it up, makes exactly what it was intended to be in the first place, and then we can go ahead and move forward.
If that's agreeable between you and the finance director, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't foresee any pitfalls with that.
No.
So, and that's cleaning up something.
Yeah, Taylor Schmidt, Deputy Finance Director. Yeah, that is basically what we talked about. We have that specials fund. We've actually switched accounting softwares a decade ago, and there hasn't really been any activity in it since. We've just been carrying over this balance. I think we used to use it for specials, but we've also historically, like the Provident Building, paid property taxes out of the Provident Fund. And so that's something we could do going forward. But yeah, definitely need to. The parking lot fund was voted to be closed last year. with that memo that I had attached last meeting. So that should definitely be addressed with that. That'll fix that transfer. One other thing I did notice, which was odd, was that specials fund did have a budget for 23 and 24. So I don't know why the decision was made to use the parking lot fund at all. And that was just going to be funded by a general fund transfer. So in this way, at least it saves transferring any money out of that general fund reserves. And we can use those reserves that have been sitting in that specials fund for a decade plus.
Move to approve that.
Second. Motion second to approve. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Schwab.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Munson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bakken.
Yes.
Chairman Bittner.
Yes. Motion carries.
And then once, I didn't put this on the agenda because I didn't receive it in time. This is just an FYI. I received notification that there was a resignation on the Burleigh County Housing Authority. So we're going to be opening that up for applicants for that auxiliary board.
Okay. So we're down to other business. The only other thing I had was there's some discussion about public comment policy. And I don't know if anybody got emails on that or any. Okay. That figures. I don't know how long ago I got that one. There we go. Good question. Good. Okay. The rough draft here was Burleigh County welcomes public comment at our regularly scheduled meetings. A public comment period will be provided before the consent agenda and regular agenda to discuss items not listed on the agenda. Public comment is available during each agenda item, meaning that the public can comment at any time on those particular agenda items, but the whole point of this policy is to allow for public comment on issues that are not on the agenda, right? So the public comment must be pertinent to Burleigh County, may not interfere with the orderly conduct of the regular meeting, may not be defamatory, abusive, harassing, or unlawful, may be prohibited if an alternative procedure exists to bring that particular type of public comment before the entity. The public comment includes, or comma, it may be prohibited if the public comment includes confidential or exempt information, or the public comment is otherwise prohibited by law. And the only other recommendation here, and that's what we should discuss, is whether there's going to be a time limit per speaker or per session. So should that go on a regular agenda?
Yeah,
for
we're
next?
gonna-
Yeah, I want to put that on there on the next agenda for the next regular meeting. But the consideration is there a time limit that's reasonable on that?
Total time limit you're talking about, or time limit for one person,
Per
or time
person,
limit for the whole
person.
thing?
No, per person.
So we did that on the city side, and it's basically other business, but for public comment at the front side. I kind of went around and around with our city attorney at the time on limiting somebody that's adding new pertinent information. I don't like doing that unless it starts getting repetitive and you get a bunch of people coming up saying the same thing. I would say that would be the caveat to any sort of a time limit.
Yeah, I think we can be adjustable. I think
Yeah.
a time limit with possible exceptions is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, sometimes you do want people to continue because they have a large presentation.
And we're here to
something.
listen. That's our job.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a time limit. Unless it's repetitive, then the chair should be able to
Move on.
move on.
Okay, well, think about that and put in any comments to the state's attorney, I think, because we're going to put that on the agenda for the next regular commission meeting.
Okay, and I'll be in communication with you to make sure it's exactly how you want it to be for now.
Right. Here, I'll forward the draft, and it says here that the state's attorney had reviewed it, so. And you should have it now.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business for the good of Burleigh County? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.